Husband handed over my lunch to his surprise friend dropping by unannounced, dismissing our romantic dinner, while she called me rude. I, 23F, and my husband Jeff, 25 male, have been together for 7 years. We've recently got married about 10 months ago. With that, I also got a promotion at my job and I work longer hours. He has a friend, Sarah, 25F. I'm not close to her, I don't talk to her, but I will greet her and be civil if I have to. My husband knows her as they were in the same training for their job. They work in 2 different departments though. So to the problem, me and my husband had gotten off of work a bit earlier, so I decided to make a nice meal for both of us as we haven't been able to have a lot of time together, so I wanted to have a nice romantic dinner in our dining room. Fast forward some hours, after I finished cooking I only made enough portions for me, him and a bit for myself for my lunch tomorrow at work, so I let him know about my lunch I had in the fridge and that it isn't leftovers. Anyways, we're sitting down enjoying our meal and talking. That's when somebody walks in. Yeah, walks in. Obviously I'm thinking somebody just snuck into our house or something because I never gave anybody a key. All I knew is that my husband and myself have a key. To my surprise, Sarah came walking in as she greeted my husband. I had to greet her first and she finally looked at me and greeted me. I looked at my husband and said I didn't know we had company. He just shrugged it off and said I decided to invite her over to hang out. I'm blindsided because I wanted this night to be just for us since we've been so busy. Sarah sits down and has the nerve to ask where's my plate. I looked at her, I reminded her that I wasn't aware that she was coming over, so I didn't make enough and I apologized. She started calling me rude and inconsiderate, but I kept letting her know that I wasn't aware and I could Uber Eats her something if she wanted or fix her up a sandwich. She looked at my husband and asked why she didn't have a plate. I kid you not, my husband gets up, goes over to the fridge, takes my temporary lunch bowl out the fridge and reheats it and gives it to her. I immediately tried to take it but he moved it and I said that's my lunch for tomorrow and he replied to me, you could make yourself something else. To be fair, I was pissed. He gave the plate to her and she just started eating it and thanked him. Obviously I'm mad at this point and I was going on about how that was my lunch for tomorrow while he ignored him. Sarah kept calling me bitter and childish, saying it wasn't serious. I soon had enough and just stormed upstairs and never came back downstairs. My husband ended up coming upstairs very late at night and just getting into bed without even giving me a kiss. I wake up easily but I was still halfway asleep. I just want to know if I was being selfish and made a big deal out of him giving her the food. Ida? Edit, I'm getting comments saying I'm fake and I do apologize for any mistakes in here. I do typically mess up with my words when I type fast and I apologize for that, but please stop being mean about it. I never posted on here though, are PPL usually this mean? Edit 2, I plan on talking to him tonight when he gets home. He's working later tonight so I'm gonna try to keep myself up and I'm gonna ask him if anything is going on with him and Sarah. Update 1. This isn't gonna be a long update at all. I talked to my husband after he got home today and long story short, they have feelings for one another. He denied cheating but I feel like there was at least emotional cheating. I don't know what to do as I've been with him since I was 16 and he was my first everything. I can't even imagine a life without him. I'm currently at my mom's house. I came over here after all the chaos. He's been blowing up my phone with text and calls. First he was apologetic, to it was she means nothing and now I'm insecure woman he claims. He tells me he still loves me but if I'm with you then I want to be the only one you love. Lots of you also pointed out that he was disrespectful, which he was, and I can't stand for that either. I checked the Ring camera and her car is currently in our driveway. Anyways, I feel like complete shit. Me and him mostly have mutual friends since I didn't have much friends in high school, just college, which is where I met him. We were in the same friend group. I've been crying and I'll admit embarrassingly I've thrown up about twice. My mom has been super supportive and tonight she's letting me forget with ice cream and rewatching Love Island. But she said it'll be temporary as me and her need to have discussions on what will be with me and my husband going forward. That's it though, thanks for all the advice I got and completely things get better. Update 2. Before I start on the update I want to explain some things I saw in the comments. A lot of people were confused by me saying I got with him at 16 and I do apologize for not talking about that more because I forgot that might be confusing for some people. I started attending kindergarten at 4 in September, I turned 5 that January. In 8th grade I was put in some honor classes which was high school credited. I went to high school, did summer classes plus some credit from 8th grade and ended up graduating early at 16. I started college after that summer break and that's when I met my husband. Hope that explains the timeline more. Secondly, a lot of people were saying I was too calm about it. I want to also apologize for not adding much dialogue of what was discussed during the situation, and I thought that me saying I kept trying to take the plate and I was angry was enough for some people to get the picture. I didn't want to add too much dialogue because I felt it would just make the whole post too long as I assumed that people wouldn't have the attention span to read that, but I was most definitely angry. The reason I offered her Uber Eats or to make a quick sandwich is because yes, I wasn't aware she was coming but my husband did invite her and she was a guest so I didn't just want to be rude. Lastly, people with the grammar, I and spelling comments coming at me. I don't know if the I thing is a compliment or insult as I is smart and the insult is that I doesn't always add up. I don't know, this is my that Reddit post. Next, the grammar and spelling. My husband just told me that he has feelings for one of his friends and prioritized her over me. The last thing I'm worried about is grammar and spelling, but thanks for being so concerned about it. Word girl. On to the update. This whole thing has been going so fast. I mean, how could this all happen in literally 6 days? So that night of the whole blowing up phone and Sarah's car being in the driveway, I stayed at my mom's house, and I'm super grateful for her because she was an amazing support. Jeff didn't text me again that night, but Sarah's car did leave later that night. I've been trying to convince myself that he was just upset about me leaving and she was there to make him feel better, but obviously, that's not what it is. The next day, Jeff's number had called me and I picked up, but it was Sarah who was on the other line. She kept telling me how I was overreacting and trying to reassure me that Jeff was a good man. She said it was selfish how I would let her starve just to keep the lunch for the next day and Jeff was just being kind. I told her about how Jeff told me that they had feelings and she confirmed it like it was nothing. She only said something along the lines of, "Why wouldn't I? He's a good man." She then told me if I was really gonna let that situation ruin our marriage, I wish this was fake because why the hell are you so desperate for a married man? I ended up just asking her why she had Jeff phone and she told me that was she there to comfort him. She had came back the next day after I saw her car on the Ring camera. I just ended up hanging up on her. I'll be honest, this is where I may be a big dummy. I ended up staying at my mom's house an extra day. I just needed one more day before I had to confront everything. Not once did Jeff check on me and it really did hurt because how could he just change like we didn't spend 7 years together? The next day on Monday I did go over there. I left my mom's house around 9 a.m. and went back home, and that's when to my surprise I caught them. Also PS, I didn't see her car in the driveway so I didn't think she was still there, but when I found them, they were asleep in our bed, halfway naked. In our bed, literally under where our wedding photo hung up, and admittedly that was my breaking point. I raged and I ended up screaming, which woke up both of them, and Sarah wasn't even on shit. She acts all big and bad during other moments, but this time she just hurried and left like a pussy. I turned to my husband and what hurt the most is that he didn't seem to care. He didn't try to even defend himself, just stood there staring at me. I started yelling at him. I yelled that I was gonna leave him and that I was packing my stuff, but he did literally nothings. That's when he turned around and got something off the counter and he gave it to me. He had the nerve to serve me divorce papers, so obviously he's been thinking about doing this, but I don't get why. Like, was this whole lunch thing, him calling her over after I left and then finding them in the bed together, just a sick joke to get a laugh out? They've been friends for 3 years, as that's how long it's been since his training. I don't know for sure how long the affair was, but if I had to guess I would say some years. I just stared at him for a moment because, not gonna lie, I was gagged. He then just told me one thing: pack your shit and leave then. I stood there for a moment just staring at the divorce papers. Soon I regained my composure and I signed them. So we're getting a divorce. A bit bummed I didn't get the chance to initiate it, but at least I don't have to worry about it anymore. I had questions to ask him, but honestly after that it was just silence until I left again. I wanted to ask how long he had the divorce papers and why was he even prepared with divorce papers. I wanted to ask why play in my face and do all that just to divorce me? Is this like a taboo situation where him and Sarah thought it was so fun and sneaky to plan this behind my back or something? I'm not worried about the divorce. Luckily we have no kids, we don't have a joint bank account, so I'm good on money as I have my job and my grandparents add $200 every month. Not that I can move into a new place immediately, but I have money. For the meantime, I'm just gonna go to my grandparents' house as it's pretty big and they could use the help anyways. I'm definitely still sad but also very angry about the whole situation because it was just so stupid. Like, genuinely, how can villains like this exist? What did they even gain out of doing all that? I do want to thank you everybody who messaged me kind things and also commented kind things. It's super appreciated and it's definitely something that's making me feel better. This situation didn't turn out the way I thought it'd be, but at least me and him will be getting a divorce. This update was pretty hard to write as I'm just experiencing yesterday all over again in my head, and the whole thing just pisses me off. I would say that I'll update if there's more, but hopefully there's not, as I want this chapter to be closed. I know I seemed like such a doormat in my other post, but I think seeing them in my bed, him with no reaction, and being served divorce papers was obviously what I needed to really not want this relationship to work out. I know I say this every single post, but again, please refrain on hating. I really can't handle it right now, so that it'd be appreciated. Edit. Lots of people are talking about how I was dumb to sign the divorce papers without reading, and I agree with you. I regret it now, but in the moment I was heated and I acted out of emotions. Update 3. Okay. I am honestly in shock and typing this half with a cup of coffee and half with trembling hands. I can't believe how quickly life can flip itself upside down. I debated even coming back here because after what happened this week, I'm honestly embarrassed, kind of emotionally numb, but also, I think the universe might just be on my side again, in the weirdest way possible. First, to everyone who kept telling me to get a lawyer and not just sign whatever, you were obviously right. I spent the last couple days at my grandparents' place, just sleeping a ton, eating all the soup grandma can make, and finally going back over every single paper from the divorce kit because people here, and my actual family, especially my aunt, scared me into it. Turns out, of course, Jeff tried to pull a fast one. Of course he did. The papers weren't even fully filled in, and he was definitely trying to get away with keeping the house, which is technically in my name, more on that in a second, and not splitting any of the items we bought together. Lawyered up now, thank you Aunt Vita, and I'm holding firm that I get my share. And then, Here is where it goes from bad sitcom to insane. So Monday night, Jeff tried to call. I ignored. Tuesday, Sarah has the audacity to text me at 3 a.m., blocked on everything except somehow she found my grandpa's old Facebook and messaged me there? Absolute psycho behavior. She says, "If you want your stuff, you'll need to come get it, we're moving in." Okay? First of all, girl, I had already boxed up my sentimental stuff and most of my wardrobe before he even gave me the papers, so joke's on her. There's basically nothing left except some home decor, a few books and, of all things, my KitchenAid mixer, which everyone knows was a huge deal for me to buy myself. But here's the insane bit. My grandmother, hearing this, basically turned into the Avenger of Grandma Rage. She drove me over early morning, clutching her cane like a weapon. We get there, and the entire front yard is in chaos. There are like 3 SUVs and boxes everywhere, but it's not just Jeff and Sarah. There are 2 other people I don't even recognize, and a police car sitting in the driveway. Long story short, Jeff and Sarah had a massive fight about moving in together and it blew up so far that their fighting woke the neighbors, who actually called the cops. Thanks, Mrs. Parker. Sarah was outside in pajamas, arguing with Jeff about being promised more and not wanting to live with a liar. I stood there, completely gobsmacked, and then the police officer comes over and asks if I'm up. Turns out, since my name is on the title and I'm not officially moved out yet, Jeff couldn't legally change the locks or start moving her in. The best part, Sarah started screaming about her new home and the officer told her to get off the property or she'd be charged with trespassing. Chef's kiss. Both of them lost their absolute minds trying to explain to the police what was really happening, and it was honestly the most surreal thing I've ever seen. Jeff tried to say I was harassing him by showing up. I guess picking up my stuff is now harassment? But the officer told him, word for word, "She lives here too. Until the courts say otherwise, you're just housemates." I had to hide a smile. Grandma, true to form, made a scene by insisting I go inside and get my mixer. "You're not leaving your Cinnabon money-making machine behind for these fools." So while she blocked the door with her cane, I went in and snagged every single thing I cared about, and petty as it sounds, I unplugged the Wi-Fi router because my account, my bill. It gets wilder. I was leaving the kitchen when Sarah chases us down the hall, cop trailing her, annoyed, and throws a box of my old things at me, screaming, "Take your trash." In the box? A pair of earrings I haven't seen in 3 years, about $100 in cash, old love letters from Jeff, and our wedding guest book. She tossed it like it was a snake. After all that humiliating drama, my grandma, legend, stands on the porch, points her cane at Sarah and Jeff, and, loud enough for the neighbors to hear, says, "There's the trash. Don't take out anything but yourself, sugar." Absolute silence. I think that was the single, tiny spark of joy in this entire week. So Sarah finally storms off, gets into her car, and peels out with one of the strangers. Jeff just sits down on the lawn and, I'll never forget this, puts his head in his hands like it just now occurred to him what he's lost. Cop tells him he should figure things out and then leaves. We finish loading my stuff into my grandma's CR5 and one don't look back. Sigh. But here's the real kicker. When we got back home, going through that box, I found something from Jeff that literally made me laugh/cry for 10 minutes straight. Tucked behind one of the old anniversary cards was a letter to Sarah, written months before we separated, talking about how much longer until it's just us and we can stop pretending? And I'll never be truly happy until it's just you and me, honestly. Not even good writing, basically ripped from a C-list movie. But there it was. Did I need real, physical proof? Not really. Did I wave it triumphantly while eating grandma's soup? You bet. I texted him a photo of the letter, then blocked him everywhere. Final thoughts, though every day is still a bit of a roller coaster, officially moving forward with the divorce, legal help fully on my side now, no joint accounts, clean finances. The house, thanks to my name, is probably going to net me either the property or a big old buyout, and my lawyer is pushing for all my rights, including the mixer, which we all know is primo. Sarah and Jeff seem absolutely made for each other, in the sense that they both deserve whatever chaos they create together, and I hope the neighbors get a good soap opera out of it. I'm letting myself actually grieve for the first time, no shame. Turns out single nights at my grandparents' with Netflix, soup, and a lot of ugly crying is a pretty good first step. Life really comes at you with a frying pan sometimes. I'll update one more time if the divorce gets finalized or if anything else dramatic happens. You'd think we're done, but honestly at this point I'm not jinxing it. In the meantime, protect your lunches. Seriously. And always take your grandma as backup. Thanks to everyone who believed me, calmed me down, made me realize I deserved more, and most of all reminded me that the plate of food is never just about the food. Update 4. Well, I wish this could be my triumphant, final Pixar movie-style send-off, but apparently my life is still under contract for at least one more season of chaotic plot twists. Let me start by saying, the divorce is truly, finally rolling. My lawyer, shout out to Aunt Vita again, is practically gleeful over how straightforward our finances are, given no kids, no housing lien on the place, and my husband's, well, let's just call it remarkably poor documentation skills. All that said, though, I think the universe wanted to make absolutely sure I had zero regrets about leaving, because the last 48 hours have felt like a live-action cautionary tale against ever doubting your gut. First, after my last post, things went quiet, blissfully, suspiciously quiet. So quiet that I started to hope maybe I could truly turn the page and at least live out my eat, pray, love phase in peace, minus the solo trip to Bali, plus a lot more soup and grandma advice. Then, yesterday morning, I get a knock on my grandparents' door. Now, my family's not exactly big on unexpected visitors. If someone is at your door unannounced, it's either the mailman or someone with drama. This time, it was both. I open the door and there's a courier with an envelope. At first, I think, oh great, maybe it's just more legal stuff. But no. It's a letter addressed not even to me, but to Sarah, at my old address. Apparently, she never officially changed her forwarding address with work, and something very official looking landed at my former home. The courier tells us it's urgent. My grandma, ever the investigator, looks at it before I even have the chance and says in her best mystery novel, whisper, "This is from the HR office at her job, honey." Now, I shouldn't have cared. But you ever get that nosy itch? So, after resisting all of 45 seconds, I called my ex-husband, cue the theme from Curb Your Enthusiasm, strictly to let him know about the mail and because, legal stuff. He didn't pick up, of course. So I texted, Sarah's HR sent urgent docs to the house. Pick it up from the porch, I left it in your mailbox. That was that. Or so I thought. 3 hours later, I check my phone, and I've got a string of texts from Jeff, starting with an all caps "What did you do?" and a panicked "Call me back now." Then, I get a call from one of my old mutual friends, literally the first time anyone from that friend group has reached out since this all started, with a voice like she's relaying mob news. "Girl, are you sitting down? Because Sarah just got fired." Yes. Fired. Turns out, Sarah had apparently let Jeff talk her into some not so above board activity at work. This is wild but, according to mutual friend, Jeff was venting to one of the guys that he and Sarah deserved a real shot and she didn't want to commute anymore. That somehow turned into them using my address as Sarah's supposed new residence so she could apply to a WFH position with higher seniority in a different department, which had a location requirement for living in a certain area. HR found out the address was not only still in my legal name, but also not actually Sarah's residence, which, in a truly poetic twist, Sarah herself helpfully confirmed on the police report when they kicked her out during our whole front lawn carnival last week. HR caught the discrepancy, checked her actual files, realized she'd been misrepresenting her location, and boom. Terminated for falsification. Apparently, Jeff thinks this is all somehow my fault because I snitched, but the reality is that the universe serves up what you put into it. You can't manifest a job, or a marriage, Jeff, on borrowed lies and expect it not to come crashing down. As for me, I tried to feel bad, but honestly all I felt was relief. Whatever latent guilt I had, did I rock the boat, did I walk away too soon, am I self-sabotaging? All gone. If anyone needed a cosmic green light to leave her ex in the rearview, that was it. Sarah apparently tried to call me from a random number and left a voicemail. I didn't answer, but I did listen. You think you're better than everyone, but you'll end up alone. At least I was brave enough to go after what I want. Ma'am, you went after my meal prep and my legal address. Please get therapy and a new GPS. Here's where it gets a little messy. Again, later that night, Jeff shows up at my grandparents' house. Apparently, he tried to explain everything. We just made a mistake. I just thought I could have it all. Can't you at least talk to me? Grandma, bless, literally called my mom and her two best knitting friends in from next door and they staged what can only be described as a chaperoned porch confrontation. While Jeff tried to plead his case, my grandma and her crew stood around with their teacups, stone-faced, like a panel of judges on the Great British Divorce Off. In the end, I told Jeff, and the entire street, basically, I hope you find happiness, but this isn't it. I hope Sarah finds what she needs, but it's not in my home or with my name on her pay stub. This is finished. And then, the last bombshell, my lawyer called. News is, if Jeff can't prove he contributed equally to mortgage payments or upgrades, lol, he can't, he'll either have to buy me out of the house at fair market value or move out himself. So Sarah's master plan to move in fell apart, Jeff's on the verge of losing the house entirely, and I get full legal right to my KitchenAid mixer and, seriously, a couple $100 for some of the other shared assets Jeff snuck onto his list. Right now, I'm officially, legally separated. I'm talking to new old friends, sleeping in a room I decorated as a teenager, and Grandma's talking about taking me on her annual girls' trip to Atlantic City with the knitting ladies. I still ugly cry sometimes, but yesterday I caught myself singing along in the shower for the first time in a month. TLDR because apparently my life is an ever-expanding novel. Sarah got herself fired, Jeff tried and failed at porch pleading, my grandmother is ready to open a security agency, and my new life involves zero drama with my name on it except when it's signing myself up for a summer pottery class. Thank you Reddit, again, for reminding me not to lose myself over a man who'd lose my lunch and my heart in one move. The saga is, almost, over. Update 5. The final lap, or, so I hope? AKA the week my life became a soap opera for the neighbors and the internet. Okay, everyone. Buckle up, because you would think I'd hit rock bottom with all this, but apparently the universe had one more twist to throw at me. I wasn't even sure if I should come back here. I'm honestly torn between feeling like I'm in a fever dream and like I'm finally learning who I really am outside of the drama and the divorce. You all wanted an interesting update? You're getting a novella. Sorry in advance, but you truly cannot make this stuff up. So, quick catch up. Sarah is jobless and blaming me for it because her master used Op's house address for a fake promotion plan cratered spectacularly. Jeff is reeling because, as my lawyer predicted, he literally couldn't produce a single bank statement for a mortgage payment in his name. Might want to lay off the wife as a doormat narrative, buddy. The house is mine, no crazy expenses or joint debts, and grandma is one minor inconvenience away from running a divorce justice league out of her knitting circle. I spent the first few days after all that hiding in my favorite childhood reading chair, rage reading Agatha Christie novels and eating toaster waffles for dinner because, let's be real, what else can you do after finding out your whole marriage was basically one of those it gets worse memes come to life? But then, Friday came. And I got a call that changed everything, and yet, weirdly, landed me right where I needed to be. The realtor call that changed everything so, the house. Technically, until the divorce decree is final, it's in my name and I can do with it what I want, so long as I respect his legal right to reside there, which, again, he's barely using because Sarah, my amazing lawyer / Aunt Vita suggests this. List it. Clean break. Cash out, get your money, and peace out. There's a market boom anyway, you might come out ahead. I say, what the hell, and start the process, and that's when my realtor, Lisa, future bestie, possibly fairy godmother, shows up at the house to scope it out for staging. In the middle of her walkthrough she slides open the hall closet, and out tumbles a shoebox full of letters and a bag of what I immediately recognize as Sarah's work badges, a Parcheesi set, and, I kid you not, an envelope labeled important mortgage papers, do not lose. Cue my realtor and I locking eyes in the middle of my barren former marital home, realizing she just found the holy grail of divorce evidence. I text my lawyer the second I get home, Aunt Vita's response, honey, it's like the house wanted you to find closure. She has a flair for the dramatic. What was in those letters? Oh, only the full saga of Jeff and Sarah's secret plans, how Sarah wanted to get married before the year ended, gag, how they thought no one would ever suspect because Sarah is so nice to Op's face, she'll never see you coming. Literal lines about dinner portions, I wish you'd let me just eat with you and not her. My lawyer is salivating because some of those notes actually support my case to keep the house outright, long legal story, but basically, proof that Jeff was planning to move on anyway and didn't invest squat. The neighborhood soap opera, with a revenge plot? Here's where things get even wilder. Apparently, the neighbors got wind of all of the drama. Mrs. Parker's daughter is the local next-door admin. Bless her. There's now a whole neighborhood watch vibe going on. People keep texting, hey, is your ex Jeff okay? We saw Sarah trying to get into the backyard with a moving dolly last night. I just reply with a sunglasses emoji. Then, Sunday morning, while I'm at my grandparents', I get a let me in text from Jeff. I ignore it. 15 minutes later, he's blowing up my phone that Sarah lost it and threw her stuff in the backyard and the garage door is broken. I do not respond. He's got a key and a working phone, and as my lawyer instructed, all cohabitation communication should be in writing. Thank you very much. Legal queen behavior, and revenge, served, almost, warm. Fast forward to Monday, when I went to the house one last time to meet Lisa about staging, and there's Sarah, in the driveway, sobbing and yelling at Jeff from the car window. Apparently, she tried to get back together with Jeff, but he told her Op's lawyer says it's not a good idea and maybe you should move on. She starts throwing old clothes, not even hers, into the yard. I honestly felt bad, for about 3 seconds, then remembered the lunch, the bed, and the you'll end up alone voicemail. Jeff chased after her, and the two of them put on a full production worthy of a Real Housewives reunion. I deserve more than you. You said you'd choose me. Meanwhile, my realtor, the literal MVP, records the commotion for extra evidence. At one point, Sarah turns and tells me you'll never be happy, you miserable bee, and Lisa, absolute legend, responds that's okay. Sarah. Op gets the house, you get the street. Maybe try somewhere 2 blocks down this time? I nearly snorted water out my nose. Grandma Justice League rises, with potluck, so, after the chaos, I finally had my moving on dinner at my grandparents'. Grandma, Aunt Vita, 2 knitting friends, and even Mrs. Parker showed up. There was lasagna, wine, and a homemade congrats on your, soon-to-be, divorce cake. They staged a toast to new beginnings, old mixers, and never sharing your lunch with homewreckers. I actually laughed so hard I cried, which then turned into just plain crying, and my grandma gave me that beautiful bone-crushing hug only grandmas possess. New, a maybe happy ending? Here's the wildest twist of all. Lisa, my realtor, texts me after dinner, I think you and I just survived the same storm. Want to join my trivia team this Thursday? So I went. We didn't win, I know nothing about horse breeds, but I noticed something. I smiled, genuinely, for the first time in months. Not a fake smile, not a relieved I survived another day smile, a real, hopeful one. There might actually be some sunlight after all this storm. Where are they now? Sarah moved in with one of the strangers from the moving day and, according to neighborhood legend, now delivers Uber Eats, which is the most poetic justice since she tried to take my lunch. Jeff is living in his brother's basement, convinced I set him up. Sure, Jeff, the universe ran a sting operation just for you. I'm signing house sale papers next week, packing for a divorce moon with Grandma and Aunt Vita at their timeshare upstate, and planning to sign up for a pottery class and Lisa's next trivia night. The mixer has a place of honor in Grandma's kitchen until I move into my own new space. Thank you, Reddit, for never letting me forget that a lunch is never just a lunch. Sometimes it's a warning sign, sometimes it's the last straw, and sometimes it's the thing that saves you from 7 more years of chaos. I genuinely hope this is the last update, unless my eat, pray, grandma era somehow becomes even wilder. If it does, I promise to keep y'all in the loop. Until then, guard your food, trust your gut, and never underestimate the power of a little grandma justice.